Well, I'm not sure what that was, but I was going to do my typical video in my little room, but I just was having an emotional experience. And then as soon as I opened the camera to start filming, there was a sonic boom. I live in the middle of the ocean, and something happened. So I guess when I get done with this, I'll look into it. But I mean, I felt it all over my whole entire body. The ground beneath me shook in a way I never felt before. I live on an active volcano, so it wouldn't be the first time I was taken by surprise by the earth moving, because a couple years ago we all know what happened then, and I was right at the epicenter of that. It just was an accident doing a hive removal. Uh, but yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and get right into episode 9, which is, um, you know, the topic seems to be revolving around the neural pathways, the connections. Like every day for the past 2 weeks, there's been one thing after the next, including animals, dogs, and how they connect with their owner versus connecting to a treat. It's not that they don't connect to the treat and the reward system, but what is driving is what was just blowing my mind. They trained the dog to work with the MRI so that they could read the brain chemistry and what was happening. And yes, indeed, when presented with the owner's face, the pathways, the brain was firing way, way next level compared to the reward, the treat. And that, my friends, is what I'm talking about. So when you cultivate the connection, there's an alchemy process. That alchemy process is healing the samsara and samskara. They're the grooves in the brain that are slowing down the rapid fire connection, right? So when you heal this stuff, like with medicinal herbs, you're healing the gut biome too, bringing back that connection, right? The brain here and the brain here in your belly. So it is your duty to work on that, my friends. So yes, diet is part of it, dieta, if you will. But you don't have to judge yourself, right? If you don't eat, like the way society seems to be trending, don't fall for that shit, right? Guilt and shame, careful. That's creating stress. That's creating those grooves in the brain that make you have to work harder to get the good feelings. So yes, it's a long, complicated process. Of course it is. And, all the details that go into it, we can spend all day going over it if you want. However, we can just get to the nuts and bolts of it. So if we live in a society where drama or anger or violence or like, we hardly notice these subtle rises because it just keeps happening and happening, and you are adjusting to it. You are adjusting to it. You are evolving with it. So the drama and the excitement around the drama is releasing chemicals. It's changing your brain chemistry. It's making you addicted to that, actually. We, as a society, then, will, long story short, trend into this awareness. And that, my friends, is creating the delusion and the separation that I tend to talk about. I mean, it's much more detailed than that, but right now we are starting to wake up to some sort of new healing that's happening that I'm not sure I can fully describe yet. But I hear people, like the words that we use they're starting to like become trendy too, like masculine and feminine masculinity, positive, um, yeah. And I want to look back through time. We like to blame and point fingers, right? That's creating the very separation that I'm talking about. We don't need to do that, because in order to do that, in order to blame and point a finger, that means there's a victim. Well, currently, in this moment right now, there's no victim. It's just me and you. Now, that doesn't mean there's a ton of other things happening. There is, but I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about you and me. I'm talking about this connection. I'm talking about this love. I'm talking about this experience. I'm talking about right now. I'm talking about the chemistry that you and I are having, the chemistry that you and I are making. We are bypassing time and space to connect, one-on-one, you and I, in love. Yes. Okay. So now that we know that, the things around us are stimulating this healing for everyone, for all. And some have more ability than others. Yes, indeed. But in order to get this explosion of healing, let's look throughout time. And keywords are fun too. How about Live Aid? Since this is a movie that came out a few years ago that we might remember, and even the younger generation probably watched, because it's a thing, Live Aid, 1985, Wembley Stadium. All those people filed into a stadium and they got a treat. The treat was the Queen, right? The band Queen. That lead singer diagnosed with HIV/AIDS, later dying from it, complications from it. Now, what were we doing? We're helping bring awareness and healing, raising money for Africa. Who were the people there? What did they look like? Who brought them together? Now, my friends, guilt and shame did not cause that. No. We did not look at the suffering of others in a place of guilt and shame to come together to raise awareness and raise funds, raise money, and bring the healing necessary. No. No. Common law does that. Morality does that. The drama does not need to trigger it. The drama's already there. The wheels don't need to spin so fast that you get sunk in the mud, my friends. No, we don't need that. We don't need to incite violence. We don't need to incite the drama. But now let's look at the moment of the chemical release that was the explosion that blew the roof off, if you will. So the lead singer, right? We know what's happening when that much music that we all are inspired by, we know what's happening in our brains, right? But that much concentrated energy, the people, the humans, all together. And what was the song? We are the champions. We are. I don't really need to say anything else. We are the champions. Separate, we're nothing. We're zero, zip, nothing. The bacteria didn't work tirelessly. The beginning and the end. And everything in between and outside is the bacteria, which is why the ancient shamans referred to bacteria as spirit. Because it's the beginning, the end, and everything. We are the champions. Together. and until we remember that, there's nothing we could do. We do not need to incite anything with drama. No, 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 my friends. No. The trigger is already alive inside each and every one of us. And yes, of course, there are extreme contradictions. Why do we have the contradictions? To look inward, to remind ourselves, not for us to point fingers and blame. It's a reminder for you. So, you may ask then, what do? We celebrate, my friends. We celebrate. We look back to a time in 1985, my generation, my culture, that came together to help. And not at all out of guilt and shame, out of necessity. You look at the homeless population, you look at all the things that need healing. You look at racism, you look at obvious oppression, you look at all these things. You don't need to feel guilt and shame, my friends. No. No. What did you do? And don't use excuses, my friends. If you cannot, we've got these obstacles. We're saying, COVID, whatever, we've got obstacles. We can still do it. We have these things in our hands, these cell phones, these cellular devices. We have social media. We have the ability to connect. We have the ability to alchemize. We have the ability to gain self-awareness, so much so that we feel, sense, see one another. Anyway, to make it light, maybe I'll talk about a little personal fun. The sweet things. I did a podcast yesterday with 2 other farmers, and they're a couple of my favorite farmers. The kind that inspire more dedication to your craft, the kind that inspire more love and more understanding, more alignment with others, more sharing awareness and all that. That those are the kind of farmers that I was working with yesterday, and it alchemizing, coming together to feel that feeling. And so now those chemicals that I started talking about at the beginning of this in your brain, that chemistry it's releasing a lot of oxytocin. So I feel good, and it's a lot. So sometimes when you're cultivating that much feel good, energy, it's okay that sometimes you think that maybe if not everyone in the world is feeling as good as you are right now, then you start to feel a little bit of guilt. You start to feel a little bit of shame. But that's the thing, is if you are doing what you can to share your light, my friends, to share your love, well, if just one other person feels it, then you two are connecting. But if you choose to incite drama, pain, suffering, trauma in the form of separation and delusion type stuff, well, I guess that's okay too. But my friends, that energy that you are cultivating, it ripples. It goes out there. And it doesn't make it wrong, okay? Because your healing process is yours, and I'm not going to take that away from you. But what I will try to remind you, what I will try to inspire, is more love, is more action, is more harmony, is more alchemy, is more healing, is more good feeling chemicals, more oxytocin and serotonin, more dopamine in the way of love. The love that the mother cow passes to the baby, to the calf. Yeah. We know that when feeding, that those chemicals, you can be a human sitting right near them and you get the chemicals in your brain as well. Just from that calf feeding from the mother, you feel it. If you think about how much power that is, my friends, you would understand what your responsibility is as you are born into this world with others. We are the champions, my friends. We. We. So I think I'll leave you with some beauty. I love you.